Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast. Your host, Tracy Hayes. Show 100. Yes, folks, we've made it, and I have chosen the perfect guest. As my listeners know, many of my guests, almost all of them, have been agents here in Northeast Florida. This guest is proud of his local presence. He has a unique comp plan for his agents promoting local involvement. You want to hear the details about he is involved locally at NEFAR as well as Florida Realtors, as well as some other things we're going to learn about in leadership roles. He is this dedicated to the growth of his agents as impactful citizens of our community. Let's welcome the slayer of Slate Real Estate, Cole Slate, to the show.
That was nice. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, man, I'm so appreciative to be your guest for episode 100. Just making it a podcast, making it to episode 100 is something that you should be so proud of. I looked up a stat a couple of weeks ago that I think 56% of podcasts don't even make it past episode 10.
Yeah.
Much less 100.
Yeah.
So congrats to you, man.
Thank you.
That's huge.
And Cole, I know you've been a fan, and I really appreciate your support in not only from you, but the great agents that have come on to make the 100, because it has become addictive to me as I learn the stories of the great agents that we have in Northeast Florida.
So how'd you come up with the idea? Like, what made you want to do this?
Well, it goes. I always tell the story. About 3 years ago, I went to a John Maxwell event. It was March of, I think, of 19, and I read John Maxwell's books and as they come out. But influence and credibility is something he said there. Influence and credibility. So I'm thinking influence and credibility. I was doing really well at working with the builder. I had a huge pipeline. I said, I need to get out. And I need to shorten the time. Like, there's some great mortgage loan officers out there right now they have been out for 10, 15 plus years. And the agents have gotten to know them over time. You do enough transactions, you go enough events, that sort of thing. So I'm like, the agents really don't know me. They know, some know me, but not like to the top loan officers I'm sure you and I are familiar with, as in listeners are. And I said, how can I crunch that time down? And part of it was getting out there. Well, the Lord works in mysterious ways. Mm-hmm. I get an ad in front of me from a gentleman named Travis Chappell, who has his own podcast, which has reached his podcast 800 episodes now this past week or so. And he started talking about influence and credibility in leveraging the podcast to do it. Now, in his world, he does a lot of Zoom calls. He's interviewed John Maxwell, Grant Cardone, name a few, Milet, some of the names that are out there right now. And he started as a door-to-door salesperson. He knew he had to create that influence in that circle. So that's where I was like, well, the podcast sounds fun. Sounds like something I'd like to do. And I knew a couple, some top agents, like CC Underwood was my number one show. Christina Welch came on early. And after having a couple of those on, I worked through it and it just started going. And now when I do reach out, when people respond, agents I have never met face to face, it's really flattering. When they say, oh, we'd be honored to be on the show, that is where you've reached.
Well, and you see your hard work paying off. You know what I mean? Like you've done what I try to preach so much to people that work with me or people that are considering getting in the industry, like do something that you're going to enjoy doing. Mm-hmm. And it's obvious that you love doing this. So I think it's awesome, man. Congratulations. Number 100. I'm super honored to be here.
I appreciate you coming on. And like I said, your support. So let's dig in and let's find out about Cole Slate here in episode 100. I want to talk about something you have on there, and I was trying to find some information about it, but I've seen you post it. But talk a little bit about Impact You.
Yeah, so Impact You, actually going back to college when I was at University of Florida, I actually my major was called Family, Youth, and Community Sciences. And essentially what that is social work, nonprofits, doing stuff in the community. Kind of their slogan is, we're a people science, not a beaker science. And there were different type of requirements that we had regarding internships, volunteer hours. I mean, even here in Florida, we have the Florida Bright Future Scholarship, which has volunteer hours required. So back then in 2005 to 2010, there wasn't a resource or a way for me to easily find local opportunities of which I would be passionate about in regards to volunteering. So back then I came up with an idea called UniteNet. Okay. And it was an idea that volunteers sign up. It goes off their zip code because we didn't have these lovely devices attached to us. Right. And the other way to sign up was it was as a charity. So the charities signed up and put in their zip code as well. So they had similar multiple choice options to choose what they're most passionate about or what their cause is about in regards to the community. For example, I love volunteering with sports, the special needs community, and volunteering at schools. So if I, on a weekend as a student, remembered, oh my gosh, I have this volunteer service hour requirement due next week.
Right.
What can I find that I'm actually going to care about doing this weekend?
That needs me this weekend.
Yeah. So, like I said, in college, it was just a website. Life happened. I couldn't financially keep up with it back when I was, in college.
Right.
So now I'm blessed to have the means to bring back the idea that's now going to be an app on your phone, and it's called Impact You. So volunteers are going to be able to sign up, find causes that they're passionate about, log their service hours, being able to distribute their service hours to wherever they need to turn it into. The charities are going to be able to maximize their exposure because, oh my gosh, every nonprofit needs volunteers and work and an extra set of hands and things like that. So I now have the same idea as an app that it'll be coming around. I believe the beta will be around summer semester.
Okay.
And you'll be able, not only will the volunteers, but the charities as well, will be able to maximize their exposure and their hands on deck and their impact on the community in regards to maximizing Impact You as a tool and a resource.
So, this all on your dime? You're supporting
Correct.
this? Have you gotten any contributions?
No,
because this sounds, and not that it's like, you just created an electric car, I guess. I don't know, but really, what a resource, because there's no doubt, like you said, these kids wait till the 11th hour, right? They need their time, but also for those charities to get out there and put it out there and have people volunteer early enough too, sometimes that they know they're going to have volunteers there and they don't have to, oh my God, it's Wednesday. We need volunteers this weekend. Start getting on the phones and start calling people.
Think about as well, we're trying to decide almost like a score algorithm. So we're also going to have a GoFundMe aspect that gets into Impact You at some point.
Okay.
So man, I can't put in my 10 hours today that I wanted to do with Best Buddies, but I bet I could raise or donate or something like that. So then take that score as a charity and you start recruiting volunteers. Man, I know Tracy's Impact You score is huge. Let me reach out to him because he's interested in our cause. And he also has skills like carpentry and, whatever.
Right.
So think on a much more positive level, almost like an Uber score.
When you can have if it's certain charities looking for, because we obviously like NEFAR builds a lot of it, or the ramps and stuff, and they need a carpenter. They have everybody else. They had everybody else that they can imagine to be labor, but they don't actually have the skill person there.
Yep.
And the skill person could put themselves on there and say, yeah, I'm available for so many hours. It's brilliant, and I know you do a lot at Bartram High there. So I'm sure you've introduced, kind of talked to them how their kids can actually get on there, maybe put their little profile, whatever.
So I actually haven't talked to them as much yet. Who I have already talked to, and I already have the support of University of Florida, which is where I graduated.
Right.
Whenever my original idea, UniteNet, came out around 2010, 2011, my program that I graduated from actually required the use of UniteNet in their efforts to support me as a graduate, as an alum, to kind of get that off the ground. So now we're revisiting on so much better of a tool, so much more convenient of a tool.
Yes.
And I know at least a handful of professors that are at the University of Florida in the Family, Youth, and Community Sciences program that have already agreed to assist in pushing the new app.
And what a great way, and I don't know if you thought of this part, it just made me think, you have one of these students who need their hours. They volunteer for some time. They go over and, let's say they're rehabbing a home locally or something. And they have to show up and check in with whoever the person is so they can say, yep, they were there and get their hours. But to be able to do a selfie with that person and with our phones to timestamp it and everything. And then it goes on the app and there's the picture of them. They were there. It just adds that social media color to it.
Yeah, like having albums. Like, man, am I sure I want to that I want to donate my time to this specific cause that I haven't heard of before? Well, I start scrolling through and I see their album from their rant build last weekend. Oh, this looks like a blast.
Yes. Or when we know employers, and I'm sure some colleges, they're going through social media to get those kids to put some of those pictures of them doing their volunteer time on their Facebook. All right, we go.
What if we got to the point, and I know we got to change subjects. What if we got to the point that your impact you score was something regularly that people should put on their resumes when applying to colleges?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I mean, I can see, the growth of it, and someone just grabbing that idea, because all the schools are doing it. It's all part of now of what everyone's doing. So let's go right back to my normal first question. You're from Northeast Florida. You're right here in St. Johns County, correct? Yeah. And you went to Bartram High. So what was that like? And what was your your first vision? Because it sounds like you were playing basketball and doing that social type work was kind of your thing when you headed to Florida.
Yeah. So it was cool because, I tell everyone, like, I'm from the area, born and raised. Like, I've lived through what people are still doing today, which is moved to St. Johns County for the schools. Up until I was 11, I lived right on the other side of the creek in 32258 in the Bartram area. Then when I was 11 years old, my parents built a home in Julington Creek Plantation so I could go to the St. Johns County schools. So, from the time I was born, I was in 32258 or 32259.
Do you remember when 210 was a dirt road? Because people tell me about that.
Oh, let me tell you, I remember when Roberts Road was a dirt road. Okay. So we could always tell when our bus driver was in a good mood, because in middle school, we thought it was so cool that we were taking the school bus down a dirt road on the way to Switzerland Point. That's before there was longleaf. There was no longleaf pond.
Right.
Right. But yeah, so anyways, going through Switzerland Point, Bartram, that's why it's so easy to have those conversations today, because in 1998, my family and I did what everyone is still doing today in flocking to St. John's for the school district and the communities and, the sports leagues and neighborhoods and amenity centers. And
at that time, if we think of the schools that are the high schools that are along 210, there's a lot of middle schools we can go on forever. Bartram, Creekside, Nice, and Ponte Vedra, and of course the new Beachside High. Nice is one of the originals.
Yep.
And in Bartram, Nice is older than Bartram, am I correct?
Correct. So I graduated from Bartram in 2005, and I was in the second class to go all 4 years at Bartram Trail High School.
Okay.
So Bartram was the school that they built when Nice was getting overcrowded. Okay. Then Creekside was the school that they built when Bartram was getting overcrowded. You see what I'm saying?
Yep. No, 100%. Just the progression there. So the visualization again, Cole has seen the growth here. What was it at that time early? Because I imagine when Bartram opened, I don't know when Pedro Menendez, you had St. Augustine High, Nice, and then now Bartram were the
Pedro Menendez and Bartram Trail High School opened the same year.
Okay.
They're actually the same exact floor plan.
Yep.
But yeah, they were the same year. And I want to say, similar to Bartram being Nice's answer for overcrowding, I believe it was Pedro that was St. Augustine High School's answer 100%. For overcrowding.
So what was it at that time that your parents saw? I mean, because you don't have a lot of schools, or were they already A-rated just with the few schools that St. Johns County had?
Correct. They were already A-rated, and I remember my parents joked about giving me an option when I was 10 or 11 years old. They said, we're either moving to St. Johns County or you're going to Bowles.
Oh.
I said, well, let's go to St. Johns County. Everyone to each their own. My amazingly beautiful wife went to bowls, but I just never found myself as a private school kind of guy.
Right.
So yeah, like I said, jokingly, as if my 10-year-old self had a say. But yeah, so we came down here in 1998.
Okay. So did you play ball at Bartram?
Yeah,
because you have a lot of basketball in there. Now, when you go to Florida, are you still involved in basketball there? Did you?
So I played a couple years at Bartram. Going back to your question on my involvement at Bartram, my senior year at Bartram Trail High School kind of reflects how I am now. I was a yes man even when I was 17 years old. I was on the varsity basketball team, and I was president of 4 different clubs at Bartram Trail High School.
Oh, wow.
So it runs deep. But I love that stuff, right?
Right.
So, I didn't play a ton. I was probably first or second man off the bench type of thing. I got an offer to go play basketball at Florida Christian College, which is down in Kissimmee. And, that college, I'm sure, is fantastic for a lot of people, but it didn't follow, the path that I really had for myself.
Right. All right. You're coming out of you're coming out of Florida. If I'm looking at things, you do some coaching at, I didn't write the college. Santa Fe. Yes. Yep. So what caught your fancy there? Was somebody knew you and just said, "Hey, come out"? And
so this is actually a really cool story. So my first 2 years in Gainesville, I thought I was taking the easy way out and going to Santa Fe because, hey, if you get your AA from Santa Fe, you get automatically into Florida. I learned that was not the case. Okay, so
it's kind of like Rudy and going to the school next door to
and some people still think that's the case today.
Right.
And I was a business major, just like probably half of the school, and I'm going through it, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to switch to sport management. I later realized that all sport management is a business degree with like a couple sports electives. You know what I mean? Like you still have to do financial accounting, managerial accounting, marketing, advertising, like all this stuff.
Right.
And anyway, so I'm taking one of those, let's be honest, BS career prep courses while I'm at Santa Fe. And it was to go interview someone who's in a profession of which you want to be in when you get older, or for your career. I'd always loved coaching. Even when I was a student at Bartram Trail High School, I was the assistant boys basketball coach at Switzerland Point Middle School.
Oh, that's cool.
I would volunteer coach at summer camps and things like that. So I knew I loved coaching. I knew I loved teaching and things.
Right.
And so, again, I'm thinking I'm taking the easy way out. I have an amazing relationship with the head women's basketball coach at Santa Fe. So I'm like, hey, Coach Stebbins, I had this assignment, and would you mind if I do an interview for you for the assignment?
Right.
We get done doing the interview, and she goes, hey, Cole, I actually don't have an assistant lined up for this season. Do you want to be my student assistant? So me taking the easy way out turned into something really freaking cool.
Yeah.
Of me being an assistant coach. In the regular season, we ended up, I believe, number 23 in the country. So that ended up happening. And thank God I did that, because whenever I applied to get in the University of Florida, again, I thought all the AAs got in. Well, they only took 5 sport management transfer students with their AA. Well, Coach Stebbins played volleyball and basketball at UF. I believe Mr. Keats was his name. The athletic director at Santa Fe had played baseball at UF.
Connections.
So needless to say, after I got my acceptance letter and freaked out, I definitely went and showed them how thankful I was, because there's no chance I would have gotten in over there without them, putting in a good word for me.
That's awesome. You followed a path, you followed a passion, and doors you wouldn't even think were there.
No idea.
Yeah, that's awesome. So because one of the first things that you do, I noticed in your resume, and somewhere around 9 and 10, you are over at Liberty Pines Academy.
Yep.
And you were coaching over there as well.
Yeah. So when I first graduated from the University of Florida, I worked for my family business, realized 3 months into that it wasn't for me. And then after that, it's funny, my dad owned the business, and being the loving, caring father that he is, when I realized my plan of working the family business for my entire life, 3 months in, hey, Dad, this isn't going to work. The day that I told him, son, I understand. I'll help you out till you figure out what you want to do. I'm like 21 or 22 years old.
Right.
And so that was the loving father aspect. The next morning, the business owner aspect of my dad calls. He goes, so did you figure out what you want to do? I'm like, yeah, man. In 12 hours, I figured out the rest of my life. So what I did was 2 of my best friends were in a call center doing mortgages at Everbank. So I was like, you know what? Even in a call center, I don't know how this job is going to go. 2 of my best friends work there. So even if it sucks, I'll be with them.
Because this is a tough time too. In the mortgage, those little mortgage stint you did weren't exactly easy.
Yeah, so they were huge on refis over there.
Yeah.
At the call center. So this was November of 2010, and I had my self-reflection there in June of 2011, and then that's when I got into the school system.
Right.
I was at ESE, Exceptional Student Education Paraprofessional at Liberty Pines Academy. I was their head girls basketball coach at Liberty Pines Academy. And then I was assistant boys basketball coach at Creekside High School.
Well, you're busy.
All at the same time.
You're busy. You're busy, and you weren't even technically certified at that time. You probably having to take a course because they're giving you a year or 2 to get certified.
Correct, which is why I was the paraprofessional. So I didn't have to be certified. And
okay.
You know, to put it lightly, you know, unfortunately, teachers don't, in my opinion, get compensated what I feel as though they're worth. Well, paraprofessionals get compensated even less.
Yeah.
So
it's a tough job.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a very tough job. Very tough job. So what's the first attraction to real estate? You did the time at Everbank, so you're doing some mortgages, so you are starting to interact with some real estate professionals. I believe was it 2012 in 11, late 11? I forget the time period there. But I think you started with the Welch team, if I'm not mistaken. Is
Absolutely.
that correct? Yeah. So what led you in that direction?
So it's funny. I was coaching a basketball summer camp at Creekside High School, and I went over to my buddy Zach Paul's house, and he's the owner of Heart Pine Home Inspections. And I went to his house. We are just sitting around hanging out. I tell this story all the time. And I go, I wish I could just get paid to network. I love networking. I love meeting people. I love doing stuff like this,
right.
You know, and I learned that from, you know, college and working for my dad and, you know, things like that. And then, you know, kind of going back to UniteNet, whenever I came up with that idea, I was solving a problem. Well, it's not necessarily a problem, but what does everybody need?
Right.
Everybody needs a house. You know, that's the
right.
question that you're supposed to ask whenever you're starting a business or, you know, something like that. So I'm like, I love to network. Everybody needs a house. So I just got out my phone and I signed up for the 1 week, the 63 hours course with the Florida Real Estate Institute. And I was unsuccessful on the exam 3 times. Passed it on my 4th time.
Okay.
So
Luke Newcomer had a challenge too. So
yeah,
the passing the test the first time is not a measure of your overall real estate success.
No, it's not. And man, I am a horrific test taker.
Right.
I'm a horrible test taker, obviously. But it was so funny because, you know, when I took the course exam, I was, you know, there was 30 people in my class. I was the first one in and out. I passed the first time. So I'm all cocky going into my first real estate exam until I got a 54. And then I kept improving, and on my 3rd try, I got a 74, and you need a 75 to pass.
That hurts.
Well, when I go in and I finally pass, you know, me and the guy working at Pearson View are like buddies now.
Cole, you're back again, huh?
Yeah. Hey, man, good to see you. I bring him coffee, you know. But he gave me this look whenever I got done with my 4th attempt because I had been so many times. I had memorized the whole test bank. And so I was literally in and out probably 15 minutes. Right. And he's looking, he's like, Cole, man, I don't want to see you again. And when it passed, it was, you know, it was a heartfelt goodbye. I hope I never see you again.
That's good.
Yeah. So yeah, September 2012 was when I got in the light. And speaking of Christina, which I always throw this out there every opportunity I get, in my opinion, the best team lead in Northeast Florida. And, you know, she runs a tight ship. There's a reason she's so successful. Well, let me tell you something that's uncomfortable. Having to call Christina 3 times to tell her that you didn't pass your real estate exam. That is a phone call you do not want to make. Okay. And like, she's such a good person. Like, she didn't get mad or anything.
I could just hear it with her tone of voice as Christina's listening to this. I could just hear her, come on, Cole.
Let me tell you something. If whenever she watches or listens to this, she's shaking her head right now. Because she's the queen of the voice of, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
Right.
Oh, dude,
right.
what hurts worse? You know? So yeah, having to make that phone call 3 times was, but thank God for Christina. She.
So you were already lined up. You were already lined up with her before the test. That hey, you were enjoying. You just went past the test before you're obviously getting,
Correct.
officially joining the team.
Correct. So we had a close family friend. We have a close family friend, Sharon Yates, that is with Keller.
Oh yeah.
Sharon.
We all live in St. John's Golf and Country Club.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sharon's been close to our family for a long time. She took me and introduced me to Keller. I met them. I met Christina. Sharon's close with Christina. And I mean, we already touched on once in this podcast, and I'm sure we'll say it again. There's a plan for everything. Everything happens for a reason.
Yep.
So Sharon having that relationship introduced me to Christina. Christina having this faith in me and sticking with me through 3 failed test attempts. It all happens for a reason, and I'm so appreciative of how all those dominoes fell.
And you mentioned Christina, and which will take a pretense kind of our second half of the show, and we talk about real estate and the ideology of it. How I've watched, because I've known her since 2009 when I moved into St. John's Golf and Country Club, and just watching her team evolve over time. I know she's battled, working and finding the right people. And now she's got this core group of people like, George and so forth in there, Katie, and that her team's now starting to expand. And obviously, Jacksonville Business Journal ranked her, number 1 team.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it's been just someone, she could definitely write a book and tell you about all the trials and errors and things she's failed at and why, and understand, because sometimes you obviously have to fail to understand why you succeeded. And she's certainly definitely one that should be up, I think, speaking more and sharing her. I'm sure, I don't know why.
So if you want to know something about her, she is scared to death of public speaking.
Oh, I did not know that. It's not surprising now because now that I say that and you say that, that doesn't actually surprise me.
We all joke. She's like, just thinking about public speaking makes me break out. She's so awesome, man. I mean, like I said, in my opinion, she's the best team lead I've ever met. Certainly the best team lead in Northeast Florida. Our relationship still is. So I was texting her the week before last about different questions and everything I have. She's absolutely still a mentor to me. Yeah. But I think the root of our relationship being so great and me looking up to her so much is because I'm professionally, I guess overall, I'm so attracted to those of opposite strengths of mine. So I felt like my shortfalls were Christina's strengths. So being able to learn so much from her was always so important. And even going to Exit, when I went to Exit Real Estate Gallery, right? My draw to Exit, I love Nancy and Ray and Sonny, but Ray was the one I called, because if you know Ray Rivera, he and I feel like, again, just like Christina, his strengths are my weaknesses. So whenever it was time for me to start a new chapter, Ray was the one I called because I wanted to continue that growth and learn, from him.
So you do a little brief, was it Yellowfin in there?
Yes.
Yeah. So something attracted you away from the Welch team over there. What was that? It looked like you were brought in as a partner of some sort.
So it wasn't exactly back to back, I had been with Christina for a little over a year. And, when I joined her and when I got my license, I had just turned 25 years old. And again, me being from here, the market doing what it's doing in 2012, which is, back on the climb. Right. Me being 25 years old, my friends are starting to think about their first houses and things like that. My motivation behind joining a team was that I wanted to learn as much as possible, as quick as possible, right, and the right way. I pride myself on making my best efforts to do things the right way. So after, I think it was like 14 or 15 months on Christina's team, I decided to give it a shot on my own. I stayed with Keller on my own from, let's call it December till May. And then I went to Yellowfin. And that, I think I was putting the cart before the horse a little bit, taking on a leadership role that, quite honestly, looking back now, I was not ready for.
Right.
But it's all a giant learning process, right? So much that I've learned from Christina, so much that I've learned from Yellowfin, so much that I've learned from Sunny Ray and Nancy at Exit, which is now United. There's so much learning, and not just from every transaction being different, but from every mentor you have, every leader you have, every company you go to. There's always going to be ahas and nuggets that you take with you as your career progresses.
So let's just touch on that, because it's always a subject that I like to talk about, and you're bringing it up naturally here in the conversation. The importance of education, not only from a experienced real estate agent, title company, whatever it is, but I know you're involved with NEFAR and so forth. Great. And obviously, the first thing you think of the boards is the educational department and what they add, and which circles around to one of the key terms that people use is showing up. How important is it? Like you said, when you were going to Christina's, you had to show up in that office every
100%.
day. Yeah. You go over to Yellowfin in Exit. I know you had this, the great location right here next to the Publix on 210, and always had your truck out there, which we got to lead to the truck wrap. And whose idea originally was that? Was that just?
So let me tell you about the truck. So this truck that I had was, it was my truck I've had since college. Okay. And, when I got into real estate, my dad was my dad's a very successful businessman. I'm actually having lunch with him after this. He was in my ear. And at the time, I thought he was right. He's like, you're in real estate now. You have to put your best foot forward right off the bat. People are going to be getting into your car to go to your property. You can't be driving around this big, loud, jacked up truck. There are still dirt roads though in St. Johns County. Yeah. You've got to get, a Tahoe SUV, something more practical. And, I beat the truck up pretty good. Okay. And, whenever I went on my own as an individual agent, no longer on Christina's team, I had this epiphany. And I think Wally Conway helped me with this a little bit, to embrace myself. Okay. And I'm so lucky. Everyone should embrace themselves. Okay. And I was so lucky to have this epiphany so young and so early in my career that, and I say this within reason, but what you see is what you get. Okay. And so this truck that I had beaten up so bad, I'm not sitting there trying to buy a new car. So I'm like, all right, it'll look brand new if I wrap it. And that was the thought process. That went into it.
Right.
Okay. The first night that I had my truck wrapped, I am at dinner at the town center, and somebody takes a picture of my truck, posts it on Twitter, and goes, I wonder what Cole's having for dinner tonight. I go, oh my gosh. So I don't even know if
awesome.
So what I did the first few months I had this truck, I had a spotted contest. Okay. Whoever sees my truck or my swag or my koozies or whatever, whoever gets the most engagement, okay, gets
posted on social media and gets
correct.
Okay.
Use this hashtag, and whoever gets the most engagement gets a gift card or something.
That's awesome.
Okay. It got to the point, I only did it for a handful of months just because, it got old quick, but local businesses and restaurants would donate the gift card. So it was no money coming out of my pocket. We're supporting and exposing local business to Jacksonville
100%.
With this contest.
That is, I have heard so many stories from the giving away movie tickets and stuff like that. Brilliant. And I think it was brilliant as 210 was developing, and you were with Exit right there, and you had that location, and your truck was out there in that parking lot. So the signs get lost in and a lot of times they want to be They don't want to be so pronounced. But you got this truck, which is higher than everything else, and you're out there. You knew whether Cole was at work or not.
Yeah.
You know?
And
unless someone else was driving this truck.
That's a bit of a double-edged sword.
Yeah. But that it just we're going to do this at Landmark on Friday and talking about content, which sort of celebrating the 100th episode. Mm-hmm. But it's stuff like that those subtle things, and all your friends are not forgetting what you're doing, and then their friends are seeing it because they're liking it and they're posting it, and the fact you're getting other people, like you said, the engagement and the algorithms. I mean, home run all the way around. That actually was brilliant.
There's such a I don't know what the word is for it, but there's such a tightrope that you have to walk when creating content and posting on social media and things like that, mm-hmm. because we're putting ourselves under a microscope. And you don't want to put yourself out there as too much into yourself and not enough into your customers. It's hard because we have to have ourselves out there, because in order to get the business, let's be honest, it's a giant popularity contest. Mm-hmm. Okay. Very few people that I've ever come across, when they hear, all right, Tracy's actually getting transferred, and I hear about this at my son's baseball game. Okay, they're not sitting there going, of the 20 real estate agents that I know, because there's 12,000 in Northeast Florida,
right?
Tracy, your personality would go best with so-and-so. They're not doing that. They're rattling off the first name they think of. So what can I do to be the first name you rattle off?
Exactly.
And then going from that, the popularity contest, to once you have made initial contact, to turning into a customer concierge and wanting to be the Ruth's Chris of real estate, and now sweep every person, every referrer, every customer, sweeping them off their feet with the process the rest of the way.
You use a word that I've used with a couple of top agents that I've had on the show, the concierge, because I know you're very involved in with the local businesses, and you do the out of Jack's Beach is once a month at the end of the month you do the
904 pop-up.
Yeah, 904 pop. And you're doing those things, engaging with those other business people, and the concierge. Someone asked you, the new person moved into town, used you. They're going to call, hey, Cole, who do you recommend to do? And you have you have people that you've interacted, and they walk in and say, Cole sent me. They're like, oh, we love Cole. This whole circle of events, but that concierge.
It is our job
being more
to
than
be
just that real estate agent. Yeah,
you've got to be whatever it is, the concierge, the mayor of the community, the I got a guy.
Got a guy. That's exactly
being
it.
I got a guy gains so much credibility, because you're not only providing that warm introduction and that service to whoever reached out to you, whether it's a past customer or not. Mm-hmm. Random people if you had my phone, random people reach out to me all the time, and I'm always more than happy to help out with my resources, my relationships. You
almost need an assistant to actually. Man,
I've thought about giving Sarah, my assistant, my phone, and just having a, what do the people call it, a bat phone?
Right.
But anyways, so it's not only having the ability and the resources and the relationships to refer that business, but the other business owner is going to be so excited and appreciative that if Tracy's coming to me via Cole, Tracy's getting the red carpet treatment. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yep. So it not only looks great to you, it looks great to the business owner. Everyone, it's a win-win-win situation. Taking it from those businesses as well, that was a lot of that mindset was why I am and I was so big with NEFBA, the Northeast Florida Builders Association, right. Because there's this wild misconception that the public doesn't need real estate agents when they go to a model home. But when you go into a model home and you say, I'm working with Cole Slate, or I'm working with Slate Real Estate, you get that same concierge service. You get a different type of business because of the relationships. I was on the board of directors with NEFBA for 4 or 5 years.
Right.
From the site agents and the builders. When there's a new construction build going on in RiverTown, unfortunately, stuff goes wrong. People make mistakes, and I have to make a phone call and it's fixed the next day. That's the type of stuff. That's the type of relationships and all that that pays off. I mean, just scratching as many backs as possible. Karma's a real thing.
Well, you really bring that around, because it's a thought I've always had. with NEFBA, from a loan officer, unless we're one of their preferred lenders, you're not, the builders have their list or they have their own, have their actual lender. But from a real estate agent standpoint, you're 100% to know who the no is, to meet these people at these NEFBA events. And when your customer has an issue, and trust me, they're building these homes at a rapid pace, mistakes are made. And keeping quality employees is really tough. And to be able to pick up the phone and know who to call with X builder and say, hey, can you help me out? Whatever the issue is. I didn't really dig deep in it, but that makes total sense for a real estate agent to be more involved with NEFBA, to know who is the no in the chain of command of those different builders.
100%. And it is countless how many times those relationships have assisted a customer of mine.
All right, so we'll keep moving because we could talk on forever. Talk about you spent some good time at Exit, almost 5 years, roughly.
Yeah, I think it was right over 5 years.
Right over 5 years. If you're talking to some new agents, because I always pretense the show is we're talking to agents maybe hit a lid, not really growing because their brokerage might not be growing, or a new agent going, where should I go? Because I think you'd agree, there are different brokerages that cater or are better at than others with very green agents and growing them. That it's very important for a new agent to truly find out about and dig into the brokerage that they're going to be working at. If you could expand a little bit in your experiences with the brokerages, and of course now you have your own, how important is it for that new agent or an agent looking for growth? They've hit that lid. They don't know what's going on. No one's mentoring them. What should they be doing?
So this is a giant loaded question. So one thing, just going back to how lucky I got when I started at Keller, thanks to Sharon for introducing me to Christina Welch, I just turned 25 years old. Back then, I didn't know that I'm supposed to go interview the broker.
Right.
I'm thinking it's just like every other job interview I'd been to, that I'm putting my best foot forward, my interview face is on, and I am hoping they will have me, which is still the case. But, there's so many brokerages out there that I should, like I said, I'm very blessed for the situation that I got in. But now I'm telling everyone considering getting in the business, look, you need to make sure the leadership is what you're looking for. The culture is what you're looking for. Are you nice and comfortable? Do you like the environment? At the end of the day, there are many different splits, many different services that are offered, many different fees. There's so much. At the end of the day, 0% of zero is zero. 100% of zero is zero. It's all about you as the new agent waking up and grinding as hard as you can, but find that brokerage, find that leadership, find that culture of which you're most comfortable and most eager to partner with in your business to create your business and a brand and a reputation.
Right. Because and I know you would agree because you've been doing this long enough and see it. Every brokerage does things a little differently. Every individual real estate agent every person in this world has different strengths and weaknesses. Some, they can get on and cold call all day long and be successful at it. Some can spend the money on leads and convert them to make it worthwhile. Others actually can knock on doors and have found success doing that. We've heard that numerous times in 100 episodes where people literally set themselves on knocking on doors. But would you agree finding that broker that's going to help you as an agent find what you're best at and then obviously 10x that?
Yeah, absolutely. And, kind of something that you touched on goes back to whenever we were making the intro of the show, what I tell every agent, everyone in our industry, everyone who's an entrepreneur, not even in real estate, find what is going to bring you what's going to bring you business that you enjoy most doing. I don't enjoy cold calling, so I've never made a cold call in my life. I don't enjoy door knocking, so I've never knocked on a door in my life. But there are some people that thrive on that stuff, and they love it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Being an entrepreneur, being in our industry, being a realtor, your business is what you make it. your expectation has got to be that you're putting in a minimum of 40 hours a week, and I don't mean 40 hours of just messing around on your phone. And no, you are time blocking 40 hours a week if you want to make full-time money. And everyone has a different, ideal combination of, friends, family, production, and referrals.
Right.
But everyone has different goals. But if your goal is to make full-time money, then you've got to put in full-time time.
Right.
Doing the right stuff.
Right.
So I always preach to people. I said, if you feel like networking should be part of your business, then pick 2 or 3 networking groups that you're excited about going and getting involved with at 4:00 on a Friday afternoon. Or if there's a 7 a.m. breakfast, you're not going to complain and moan about getting up early and going to that networking breakfast. Find the stuff that you...
That's very interesting you bring that up, because oftentimes that happens. I know I'm guilty of it too. There'll be something that comes up, pops up. Hey, this is happening in 2 weeks. I'm like, yeah, I like to do that. And I look at the time, and then that day I'm looking at it and go, yeah, you know what? I'm ready to just like go home, shut the computer off, and, hang with the kids or something. And yeah, so if you're not passionate about it, because you have to be genuine, right? I mean, that's the thing. And if you're going to be part of one of these groups, depending on how emotional, like there's some women's groups, there's Rethread, that sort of thing. You want to be full-heartedly passionate about it, because a lot of those other key people in there are that, and then you can bond real quick with your equivalent passion. What are you doing though? You're now at Slate Real Estate. What are you doing? What do you do to stay sharp? Are you a podcast listener, a book reader? You do a little bit of everything. Is there any person you follow?
I don't read books. As far as podcast goes, of course, the Real Estate Excellence podcast.
Thank you.
And I like Gary Vee. I like some of his stuff.
Right.
I'll cherry pick Gary Vee stuff. I enjoy Mike Cuevas, who's the real estate marketing dude.
Okay.
If you check out his podcast, I was nerding out about 8 or 9 months ago, because he actually reached out to me and I was a guest on his podcast.
Oh, cool.
So being a guest, it was, like I said, nerding out. It was so cool.
That's awesome.
But he's always been the podcast that I've listened to the most, because he's so real with what's going on today.
Right.
And it's not for a lot of people now, thanks to social media and networking and events. Not everyone's business model is smiling and dialing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Branding isn't always smiling and dialing. Like we talked about earlier, being the winning that popularity contest. That's a lot of social media now. That's a lot of events coming on podcasts. There's different ways that you can approach, that contest and getting out there as much as possible without having to sit on a phone all day, door knock, call expireds and FSBOs and things like that.
So I'm going to transition the business with this, because I put it in the intro, and you and I have talked about
in the intro. How long we been going for now?
I know. Your model, which I don't know if there's any other brokerage around that does it, but you actually have it in your compensation plan, driving your agents, which obviously when they join Slate Real Estate, they understand this is how you do business.
Yep.
And getting involved, whether it's their local HOA, it's the NEFAR or whatever, getting involved in the community boards to be someone of, influence, but be, participate and help out in different things. Tell us, obviously hearing your story, it builds right up to this, but at what point did this kind of come to your mind? Because obviously you were at Exit thinking about Slate Real Estate. You say, this is how I'm going to do it.
So it's funny, I am a big nerd. I love going to all the classes. Whenever I took the broker's class, it was simply for the education. I had zero aspirations of opening my own firm. Okay. And then, some days at that broker's class, the teacher scared me out of
Right.
wanting to start a firm one day. And then Other days it was, man, I really think I can do this. Like I'm sitting there coming up with all these ideas. And something, even going back to my high school days, something that I've always prided myself on was being well-rounded. Okay. So when I came up with this compensation plan, I think there's so much more in real estate than production. At the end of the day, does production pay the bills? Yes, it does. But I want the well-rounded agents that are giving back to the community, that are giving back to the industry, that are fellow nerds like I am, wanting to get these designations. So the model that I created not only incentivizes production, but also achieving designations, being involved in the industry, whether it's with the Realtor Association or the Builder Association, being involved with charities on different boards of directors, chairmen, chairwomen, things like that, because those are the people that are most well-rounded, that is creating a brand and a name for Slate Real Estate for the right reasons.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
100%.
And coming up with this compensation plan is essentially incentivizing what agents should be doing to be successful anyways.
Well, it's that I see it as a longevity play as well. If you this is your career, and as you started yours when you were 25 years old, I mean, you're going to be doing it for a long time. So why would you not want to make some of those long-term plays, meet people you normally would not meet in your normal day? And that's, being on a board at NEFAR, being, in your HOA, because obviously you want everybody in your community to know who you are, hopefully in a positive way.
Hopefully.
But to be involved, this is a long-term play. And when I think sometimes, as you'd agree, you've probably seen them. I know you've seen them in your lifetime. There's people that come in and to the real estate world as an agent. They really don't know what to do. And if they've been working in corporate America, they're waiting for someone to more or less tell them what to do. And you have laid out a comp plan which directs them to be involved. And of course, the play with Slate Real Estate is obviously they're wearing their name tag that says it. Hopefully they're wearing their shirt that might say it or whatever. And people get to know them as the realtor from Slate Real Estate. So they're not ready to run so quickly to jump to another brokerage either. So you kind of somewhat keep them, because they're making so many points of influence, but their business should be growing with it.
Correct. So all of these different things besides the production that our comp plan is incentivizing our agents to do is what's going to grow your business into success organically.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So that was the whole idea. And, the type of agents that are attracted to a well-rounded comp plan like that is our type of people. Those are the type of people that are going to fit into our culture. Right. Like a glove.
Because I think, if you took it away over time, it would dissolve. Like if you just went to a standard, hey, here's your standard split, and you didn't have these incentives to be involved in the different things, it would go away. But because they appreciate you as the broker holding them accountable in a positive way. Mm-hmm. The positive way is go get involved in a board because you should be, and I'm going to compensate you better than if you're not involved in a board. So they're already, it's building into a culture in a very not in a draconian way. It's a very just casual way. Is driving is any great comp plan, no matter what you're selling. If the comp plan does not drive the behaviors of the salespeople to be moving forward in success, it's not a good comp plan, in my opinion.
I need to write down that quote. That was good.
That's good.
But that speaks to exactly my goals with this.
Yeah.
And I didn't go around to every brokerage in the country or the state or anything, but I haven't heard of another comp plan like that by a brokerage.
No. That's why I really think it's brilliant. I want to cover here we talked about education, mm-hmm. and obviously your comp plan for them to continue going down to NEFAR, not just for CE credits. Well, I did my CE credits for the year, I'm done. No, they keep going down, getting their designations, because someone's teaching that contract class differently every time they go down
100%.
There. Yeah.
And I stress that. So keep going to the same classes because you're going to get different nuggets every time.
Different instructors get something different every time. We talked about showing up to the office. Obviously, you're in there bright and early. Mm-hmm. I mean, what do you see from your top people? Are they may not be coming in every day, type of thing. But how important do as we talk about creating the culture at Slate Real Estate, is that they're coming in and sharing stories, and because there's not enough transactions ever in your lifetime to understand every possible situation. I can't do enough loans to cover every possible financial situation.
Absolutely.
But if you hear from others when the situation happens, you're like, oh yeah, well, you know what? I've heard we could do that. Let me go check over here because I heard Tom talking about it last week. And you're right. How important is showing up, and not only showing up to the office, but like I said, showing up to the social events and meeting other agents.
So, going back to a little bit earlier, everyone's different. Everyone has a different mindset, motivations, personalities. Excuse me. I've always been an office person. So even if I have no in-person appointments, no in-person obligations that day, I will be, like you said, me personally, I get to the office around 6:30 or 7 in the morning. And of course, my phone never stops, but I leave the office around about 4 or 4:30. Because if I'm getting there at 6:30 in the morning, I feel like that's long enough.
Yeah.
But it's treating, again, going back to not even just real estate, but treating any business that you're starting, whether it's real estate or mortgages or insurance or, inspectors, whatever it is, like at least a 9 to 5. There are so many opportunities out there, from you time blocking to handwrite notes, to me wanting to have a lunch appointment with someone different every day, okay, to me being involved with one NEFAR council, one NEFPA council, and one charity. There's always something to do, like a happy hour mixer networking time,
right?
To go show face and create relationships. So I always am an office person, and
well, someone might say, well, it's Cole's name, Slate's out there, it's his business, that's why he goes in early. Okay, well, as an agent, if you want your name to be up there, you got to put your time to the point where, you can break off and go do your own thing if that's what you want to do. But ultimately, still as an agent, you are your own business, and that's the office. Yes, Cole is motivated because he motivated himself to get his own name on there. If you want yours, you got to get motivated too. And it starts with working under a brokerage and showing up obviously, whether he's pulling it from you, but you also have some other very brilliant people that are very involved in the office and pulling from them if you ultimately want your name on it.
Yeah. So, it goes to, we don't take on brand new licensees. We've taken on 2 brand new licensees ever, and they're both their own story and reasons that we brought them on. One of them being Jamie McLaughlin, who, even though she's only had her license for 14 months, she's a top 3 or 4 producer at our firm, which is unbelievable.
Yeah, you got some names over there.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
But we do that because, I have a lot to offer to coach up those who already have a foundation, and for me, it was going to the office and all these events and everything as much as possible. Whenever I was time blocking my time, if there was a training, I was there. If there was a networking event, a new builder was opening a community, I was there.
Right.
It's just showing up, like you said, as much as possible. And not everyone has the personality that they want to have their own firm one day.
Right.
And it's so difficult, going back to the new licensees, so many people get into our business that think, like you said earlier, it's corporate America, hey, broker Tracy, I got my license yesterday, I'm here, now what?
Yeah.
That isn't what this business is.
Right.
That's not owning your own business. I can't create motivation for you. I can give you the resources, I can give you the support, I can give you the tools, I can share my experience from all the different homes that I've helped buy and sell. But it's up to you to get out what you put in.
Would you agree, really, I think in the real estate world, it really, the brokerage you're actually signed up under, the actual name or brand, isn't really the driver. There's some brokers that might give you a couple of inches, but really in the grand scheme of things, it's your own personal brand, the reputation that John Smith brings, or in this case, Cole Slate brings to the table. It's Cole's name. They're not going, hey, Slate Real Estate, call Cole. No, they're just call Cole. That's you've driven that all along, and it doesn't matter who they're working with. By showing up, being that person, volunteering, showing up on those boards, your name continues to be out there and saturates it.
Well, that's what's so cool about being so picky about who joins us. It's all like-minded people. Like, we're not spending money on online leads and Zillow and like all this other stuff. We're spending money on appreciation events. We're spending money on our past customers and our past referrers. We're spending money on the first responders, the teachers, the crossing guards, the military. We're throwing all these events to, help out the community and be as much as possible. People say the words, hyper local all the time. We are hyper community. Okay.
Hyper
so
community.
I've been working.
Can we name the podcast that Hyper Community?
Hyper community.
Hyper community.
That's it. I've built my business the past 10 years on finding excuses to appreciate people, whether it's a demographic like first responders or whether it's just coming in and appreciating you on your 100th podcast. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Finding excuses and finding ways to scratch as many backs as possible is how you're supposed to do business. And that's going to create a particular reputation. Man, I already love Tracy, but he's an agent at Slate Real Estate. All the stuff that they do for teachers, he's absolutely my first call.
Do you think, a lot of stuff we're talking about, a lot of things that you're doing, we are hearing from, you listen to Gary Vee, and if you can go across anybody that's been out there, John Maxwell. I mean, the list. There's a lot of people out there, doing public speaking and motivation and just talking about business and what you're talking about. But it takes time. And the next word I want to bring up is consistency.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, that we're such in a rush that, I've been doing this for 3 or 4 months. Why isn't it just raining loans on me? Why is it not? Why are my phone not ringing? Because I've been, I made
one Facebook post.
Yeah, I donated to Best Buddies. Why isn't everyone calling me? This is a business. You got to continue consistently doing the things you do. You may hopefully reach a tipping point where you can start cutting back and hopefully appreciating some of your fruits of your labor and going home at 4:30 but sometimes there's those nights, I'm sure, at 7:00 there's things going on and
like
you're trying to help out an agent.
I leave the office, the phone doesn't stop.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So we were at consistency. And that could be a consistency for 3 months, consistency for 3 years. How many people in stories that we've heard, they were one pickaxe away from that golden nugget, stopped in the mine and left, and the next guy came in and swung one time and they found the gold nugget.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Consistency. That's the word.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what it's all about. That's, whenever we have, how many events do we have every year? So we have teacher appreciation every year, crossing guard appreciation every year, first responder appreciation every year, military appreciation every year. So we have those 4.
Well, touch on the crossing guard appreciation. What do you do?
So, we actually started the crossing guard appreciation here locally. I think we've been doing it for 4 or 5 years now. And whenever the first year that we did it, I didn't realize we were perhaps getting the crossing guards in trouble. So what we did was right here in Northwest St. John's, they're only at their posts for like an hour and a half every morning.
Right.
Okay. So number one, our first year doing it, didn't realize we were doing like Chinese fire drills at every post. Number two, I didn't realize that they were not allowed to have like a drink and food at their post.
Oh.
So here we are, 4 of us crossing Racetrack Road with a box of donuts. And one of the big things of coffee, here's your coffee from this local shop and your donut from this and they're like,
I can't take that.
Yeah. And like they're holding the crossing guard sign for like elementary kids.
Yeah.
And here comes my big butt walking across the Racetrack Road. And I'm like, happy crossing guard appreciation. They're like, that's a thing? Which actually, I believe it takes a lot of Googling, but it is actually recognized, I believe, at the state level. And I believe it's the first Friday of I think it's the first Friday of every February. Don't quote me on that. But anyways, so we lived and learned, we grew, we divided and conquered. It was our 3rd or 4th year doing this. And after talking to the St. John Sheriff's Office, we found out that that's who actually oversees the crossing guards. It's the sheriff's office. Right. I always thought it was a school district.
Right.
But anyways, and they said, well, why don't you just do a breakfast that everyone comes to after their posts? I said, perfect. We'll be able to help out a lot more people, provide breakfast, show appreciation. So
actually get some more face-to-face, and they're not rushed out to go do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah. And so we set up at Cafe Genovese, which is this awesome little diner where you and I went on County Road 210.
Very good breakfast.
And every crossing guard showed up, and St. John Sheriff's Office enjoyed the event so much that the following year, they actually piggybacked on our event for Sheriff Hardwick to come give out awards to the crossing guards, come speak to them and everything. Right. So now it's a whole thing. This past year, we actually took all of our stuff to their new training facility off of 16 right at 95. And we were their sponsor at their training facility. So it's turned into, this great thing for the crossing guards. They know they're going to see us every year. I get...
now, obviously, because we're spread out in the county here, are you just doing it here in the Northwest, or you bounce around to be a little more closer so they're not...
Well, so now it's the whole county.
So they'll drive all the way from here to wherever your central location is.
Yep.
Interesting.
And yeah, so that's, been awesome. The crossing guards, they now expect us, because I think it's been 5 years now. So it's really cool.
Well, the fact, they're looking forward to it. You've made an impact. The business may be, I don't know if you can measure it unless someone said, my friend Sally, who's a crossing guard, you not even know who Sally was, but she was at that event and you were appreciating her. Because trust me, the influence of just Northeast Florida, we have people coming from all over. And these are moms. A lot of times we drive by them here on
the weather they have to stand out in. And
oh
my gosh.
Luckily, especially in the afternoons. Yeah. And the heat, and they're out there, but a lot of them, they're moms. It's not, they're out there and they're more or less volunteering their time, whatever little they get paid.
Seriously.
But they're out there, but trust me, they see the circle of influence that they have, because I see the parents taking their kids on their bikes to school and then they're riding home. They're passing by Sally, the guard, all the time. The circle of influences you've infiltrated and expanded is just awesome.
And it's all about approaching this hyper community effort like the right way. You know what I mean? You're not showing up and taking donut and coffee to the crossing guards with a sign-in sheet trying to get someone's contact info.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You're doing it to give back and appreciate the community. The goodwill and the karma and the efforts, it's all a real thing. It'll come back. Just keep treating everyone like you want to be treated, and it will 100% positively affect your business and your life.
Well, we go to different events, and you got your nice Yeti mug up here on the table and so forth. We go to events as real estate industry people, and we get piled on stuff, right? We get all these strings. Someone who's that crossing guard person, you come up and I don't know if you even give out stuff. You give them a coffee mug or just something like that. That really goes a long way. To us, we get them all the time. It's like at a point I told my wife, stop. We've got enough of the, if it's not the expensive Yeti cup, don't take it anymore, because we just got enough of those other ones. You know what I mean? But just those little things go such a long way, and you will find people in the fact that they already give their time to stand out there in that heat. They don't get paid. They never get paid enough. That someone actually reaches out to them and does something for them and recognize them, even for that couple hours once a year. There's people in there. That means a lot. And they're actually looking to refer you somebody to show you appreciation. Yeah. That's building raving fans. I know that's a subject of one of the things that we're going to talk about on Friday, but also I know there's an event later on next month that another loan brokerage is doing, creating raving fans, but
Didn't my colleague Christine Hall drop raving fans when she was doing the
yes,
podcast
I do believe she
with her
was that
Chick-fil-A
her
experience.
Yes, Chick-fil-A raving fans. Yes, 100%. Yes.
Yeah, she's like, Cole stole that from me. And maybe I did,
We're going to finish up here. Surrounding yourself by successful people. When I look at what you do and you're being on the different boards and so forth, generally the other board members are successful in their own right in there. Is like a fringe benefit of being on those boards. So you are surrounding yourself by people who are thinkers in the community, who want to do more for the community. They have ideas and they want to network with you. And because you have a similar interest, whatever that board may be, that you're able to, have a coffee with them, call them up. They know you change ideas, or even just being around them. But how important has that been to your overall development as a leader in real estate?
Iron sharpens iron is a real thing. Being around like-minded people, and the type of people who, like I said earlier, I try to surround myself with people who their strengths are my weaknesses. You know what I mean? And also people who have already been where I'm trying to go. Yes. Now, being able to surround yourself with those type of people and spend extra time with them, I mean, the investment is infinite, of what you could potentially get out of that, relationship.
Well, I mean, would you agree? I mean, one of the most flattering things is, someone to come up to you and say, hey, I really admire what you're doing. You're successful. Because I think a lot of people don't realize how successful they are. We're kind of modest that way. That you, someone seeing them, that they, from the outside looking in and say, hey, you're successful. Tell me a little about what you did, or, hey, this is where I'm at. I'd really like to have the success. Is there something that, you can share with me? And 99% of the people, they'll pour their heart, everything into you.
Yeah. I mean, the, difficult part about that is, we're all just built so differently, and being an entrepreneur, you get out what you put in. So there's not a secret sauce, people, and I'm happy to when I have time, but, random agents and entrepreneurs and business owners reach out to me, just show up at my office all the time. I'd like to speak with Cole, I'm starting this type of business, not even real estate related. I'd like to come up with a marketing plan with him and, stuff like that. All of this stuff, you get out what you put in. There's not an exact roadmap to anyone's success beyond your own effort and drive, implementation, and consistency.
I mean, that's kind of brilliant what we were talking about before, and finding the things that, you enjoy doing, that obviously, that you get up every morning and go do. And you can get some ideas from some other people, maybe something that someone else is doing. Oh, I didn't even know I could do that. And go with it, but it's got to click with you. So you do, to repeat exactly the same steps as someone else, extremely hard. You were brought up differently, different mindset, different motivations, whatever it is.
It's so funny because, some things that have grown to be my brand is me being in shorts and flip-flops every day. Okay. And my truck. All right. Well, we already talked about how much the lack of thought that that went into my truck. You know what I mean? It was, hey, I don't want to buy a new one. I'll wrap it and I'll throw some advertising on there. That was, that was the thought process. But of course, then it was realizing the potential, right? The shorts and flip-flops, which, everyone to this day, I did the Women's Council of Realtors fashion show on Friday night. This fundraiser. I
saw some pictures on Facebook. Yeah.
And
Were you wearing flip-flops under your suit?
So everyone was saying that, right? So what happened was they brought us out on the catwalk twice. So the first time we had to milk it for a minute. I was in my closed-toe shoes. I was looking proper. The Magic Mike song may have come on, and I threw some moves out there. I even got $1 put in my pants. But, I was dressed how I was supposed to be and stuff like that. So the second time, they're like, hey, be quicker this time, because we just need to tell them like what you're wearing, because it's all clothes from Dillard's. So I'm like, okay, I'll be funny. I'll take off my closed-toe shoes and throw flip-flops on, because at least a dozen people mentioned to me, oh, is flip-flops part of your your wardrobe tonight? And so of course that's the picture that Diane posted and everyone's seeing, which of course, I don't care. I love it. But it's funny how that has evolved as part of my brand.
It's your trademark.
Yeah, because I'm like, when I was working for Christina, it was so important to me to always put my best foot forward, because it was her name and brand that I was representing.
Right.
I was in believe it or not, I was in a 3-piece suit every day.
3-piece.
Every day I was in a 3-piece suit. And let me tell you something. My socks were matching my tie. Like I was on it. And, you know, whenever I started my next chapter, my customers started to say like, hey, Cole, like you don't have to dress like that. You know, it's 100 degrees out and we're showing a foreclosure and your face is dripping. Yeah. So then I went to obviously the polo shorts and flip-flops. Right. And I'm like, y'all, I'm a 300-pound guy living in Florida. You know, this is how it's going to happen. Now, of course, you know, especially with me being the incoming NEFAR secretary, with me having a different state leadership, the vice chair of the state's Young Professionals Network now, you know, I dress appropriately at official events. Yeah. But yeah, like it was, you know, it just happened on accident type of thing. Again, not something that I put a lot of thought into, you know. And I have this mindset too. If I ever went to a buyer's consultation or a listing consultation, okay, and I was interviewing for the business, they know based off my resume that I have given to them sitting there at the table that I'm one of the top agents in the area. Mm-hmm. And the only reason they don't want to work with me is because I'm in shorts and flip-flops. Then quite frankly, I'm not sure I want to work with them either.
Yeah. You got to be you. You've got to be you. We've heard that a lot lately.
Embrace yourself.
Be, in general, yeah. And people move here for lifestyle. Trust me, they're moving here for the lifestyle, and that you are exuberating the lifestyle. Yeah, we're bigger guys. We start we're uncomfortable. So then the people notice that we're uncomfortable. You know, I really think people come here, they want to wear shorts and flip-flops all the time themselves. And when they say, hey, we're going to go out and see houses, we can wear shorts and flip-flops. They don't feel like they're wearing shorts and flip-flops and you're wearing a jacket and tie. They feel uncomfortable.
We're bigger guys, man.
Yeah.
Shower sweats is a real thing. Yeah. So I'm not trying to still be sweating when I put on my suit at 6 a.m.
Oh, man. I've worked some places where, that's another story. Laura.
Yep.
You guys been married now 2 or 3 years now? Is it?
3 years. 3 years was May 17th.
May 17th. She's part of the business.
Yep.
Take a minute and just share a little bit of what she does and what she's bringing to Slate Real Estate.
So, have I told you the story how we met?
No, you didn't.
So this is how. So we joke now that Laura and I are so NEFAR. Okay, we are so NEFAR that Laura and I first met at a NEFAR YPN kickball tournament.
Wow,
that is where we first met.
Who was she?
Watson.
She was with Watson. Okay.
Yep. Yep. So she was at Watson, and I have been married to my beautiful angel for over 3 years now.
So let's dig in really now. So you meet at the kickball tournament. Who's interested in who?
So Laura needed help. She was a damsel in distress.
Oh, of course.
And needed help putting a cooler in the back of her SUV. Okay. So my buddy and I go help with that. Then, as the kids say, I slid into her DMs. Okay. But then she went to France with her mom for like a week or two. And, I got to be honest, I'm not a big phone talker. I'm, stuff like that. On the phone. And, she'll still tell her version.
I'll talk business on the phone. Get right to
call me when you need me.
Yeah,
don't call me and say, "Hey, what's up?"
Yeah, exactly.
So she'll tell. I hope she's watching right now. She'll tell her version of the story. Okay, but she felt while she was in Paris that I pulled the walk away.
Oh,
and she's like,
"Could you stop direct messaging her?"
Yeah.
Okay.
She's like, "Son of a gun, I missed this guy." Like she wasn't expecting it. You know what I mean? And like I said, talk to her for her version of the story. It's awesome. So Laura and I, we're actually very opposite as well. Mm-hmm. She loves the behind the scenes, details. The systems, the details, make sure everyone's crossing their T's and dotting their I's. She really leads the effort in running our office and our systems. Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's funny, a lot of people, like every married couple that works together. Oh, don't you get tired of each other and stuff like that? Well, when I'm out doing stuff like this all the time, and she gets to the office about 9:15, she leaves at 5 Monday through Friday, and she works from home. I'm sorry, Monday through Thursday, and works from home on Friday. And so when I'm out doing stuff like this all the time, like we really aren't seeing each other like that much. Right. And even in the office, she has another office.
Right.
You know. But yeah, like I'm so lucky. I'm so blessed to have her. I'm so lucky and blessed that I played in that kickball tournament that day.
Yeah. So the damsel in distress was to let you know that she was single. There was some sign given there that, hey, you know, you may want to call me.
Yeah. Okay. And now she's my boss. that sign on the building is Laura Slate Real Estate. That is not Cole Slate. That is Laura Slate.
You're just the figurehead out there.
Dude, yeah.
So when did she eventually join you from Watson? I mean, did she join you when you were still at Exit, or? So
it's funny. Yes, while we were still at Exit, that memory just popped up on my phone. I look at my Facebook memories every morning. Shoot, 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
You know, give or take.
Yeah. So she put a 2 or 3 years when you were still the Cole Slate team at Exit Real Estate Gallery.
Yep.
Cool. I know we're going right over, but I always like to ask this question.
That's fine, man. We can talk all day.
We'll keep this one to me. What is, if you look back right now, and you know, like I said, you have a lot of people come in your office, and you ask you business, even not even real estate, just want your opinion, your angle, whatever. But when you look back in real estate, what was probably your biggest mistake that any new person you might be mentoring, you say, yeah, I've done that. Don't even open that door.
My biggest mistake, and probably not even necessarily like the route that you were going, I only started implementing an actual CRM like 3 years ago. I use Facebook a lot. All of my Facebook friends are organized in regards to where they
are friends.
Correct. Yeah. So you can go in on the back end when you're on your desktop and organize your friends list.
Right.
So, you know, I have 3 lists of realtors, University of Florida alumni, you know, I have everyone, you know, so I guess I use Facebook as my CRM, but that's obviously not the most efficient way. So, you know, I'm sure Christina tried to preach this to me and teach me the right way, but I would have found a CRM day one in the business and absolutely invested as much time and as much detail into it as I could. Heck, I would have started one in college.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. I can think about the same. You have in you know, here in the loan officer world, I'm working for a company that has their CRM. You know, they tell you to leave, they shut you have no access to that. So you've got to keep your own at all times, and you're 100% right. I would that's a great one to lay out there. Start your own, get your own CRM early. Make sure if it's you know you got a company has a CRM, make sure everything's being transferred over into yours. No matter where you go, you've got it, and you got to continue to touch those.
And being as detailed as possible. Yeah, just going down. You know,
how you met them.
Absolutely. Right. Kids' names, pets' names, address, you know, the whole 9 yards.
All right. Wrapping up with our 2-minute warning questions here. What is you and Laura's favorite thing to do here in Northeast Florida?
Well, we love to go out to eat. You know, if you follow any of our social media, so much of it is food oriented. We love Orse. Whenever there's a super special occasion that we're, you know, periodically ready to drop a large tab, which that tab has gone down significantly now that I've stopped drinking. Okay. So we love Orse, we love Matthews that's in San Marco. So we love going out to eat. We love spending.
Matthews is the Italian restaurant, is it?
Matthews is more, it's not Italian. It's more of like a fine dining type of place. Maybe they market like a French twist, maybe.
Okay. I'm thinking of another one. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think of what you're thinking of. I'm sure we'll think of it whenever we're done.
Yeah.
So we love going out to eat. We love spending time with Fenway, our dog. And, you know, I got to be honest with you, I ask Laura, you know, probably once every few weeks, how's it feel to be married to the most boring guy in the world? Because all I do is go to bed early and wake up and go, I'm scared to death to fly. I get motion sick, so I don't do cruises, So, the limit, whenever she says she wants to go somewhere, I'm like, so what friend do you want to go with?
Oh, no.
My driving limit is probably like 5 or 6 hours. Where do you want to go within 5 or 6 hours?
Right.
Something like that. But yeah, I would say, she's a big traveler. She loves to travel. Mm-hmm. She tries to go skiing annually with her friends in Colorado. Like I said, whenever we met, she was in a week or two after that, she was in Paris with her mom,
right? Which
is her favorite city on earth. I have random Eiffel Towers all over my house that Laura thinks is decorative. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that went there.
Your kids will be moving those out.
Yeah.
I think I know your answer already, but obviously the question I ask on every episode, is it more important who you know or what you know and why?
Oh, man. I think it's finding the perfect combination. Like I said, at the beginning, I start with the who you know answer, because who you know is how I got into UF. Who you know is how I met Christina. Who you know is how you get these referrals and these introductions for business builders and things like that. But what you know is your quality of your work. What you know is knowing the contract, is knowing the city, is knowing the resources. So who you know and what you know, I would have to
Which one do you get 51% to?
51% who you know. Because if you don't have the who you know, then you don't have anyone to share the what you know with.
I like that. I agree wholeheartedly. And I mean, I think in our business, it's not they don't care what you know until they know how much you care. So you got to get the who you know and knowing you. And when they know you, then they care. Then your credibility goes to another level, and you can then pour into them. Cole, it's been amazing. I want to show this.
Oh my gosh!
Great, yeah. Hopefully, there's some people are still watching.
I told you could put it off to the side.
But no, I'm going to hang this with great. This is going to be all over. This is beautiful. But the 100th episode, if we'll get a selfie of that. I appreciate that. That's really precious.
Congrats, man. Congrats to you. I mean, 100 episodes is so awesome, and hopefully, this is just building up that snowball effect to episode 1,000.
I really appreciate it, and there's just so many great people out there with great stories.
You have to be such a sponge, like if you took even the most minimal nugget, from each of the 100 guests that you've had, you've got to just be pouring with it.
Yeah, I tell people it's like a personal development book every time I sit someone down, and it's not not always telling me something I don't already know, but when I look back and I try to pour it to my son or younger people like I've had a lot of sub 30 people on here doing just amazing things, and I'm just at all. I'm 52 years old. I wish I knew or had the mentors or the whereabouts or just whatever it is that they clicked in and got locked in so early, because they're going to just be icons like Brittany Nolan with DJ and Lindsay. I mean, she's 30 years old. She's running that large company. I told her she's going to be an icon in St. Augustine real estate for the next 3 decades. Mm-hmm. And it's just to watch these people and be honored to be sitting down with them and learning about them, because I'm gonna call them when I'm a little older. Maybe still hopefully doing this and type thing, but there are many more people to bring on and learn about.
That's awesome.
This really is.
Congrats, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you.